Hey everybody, Stock Picks by Tim here, and I've got three stocks for you today that I want to go over quickly. First off, we're going to touch on INDI, and we're going to get back to the chart in a second. Now, I've showed this before, but I just want to show any of you that haven't seen this yet. This is the INDI team here. You'll see on the top left, we've got Donald McClymont. This is the CEO. Now, you'll see this green circle around a few of them, and this means that they've been around for 20 years working together. Okay, so these four here, David Kang, Scott Key, Ichiro Aoki, and Donald McClymont, them four have been working together for over 20 years in the semiconductor space, all at Axiom together, a few at Skytech, and you'll see a lot of other huge semiconductor names in this list. We've got Qualcomm, we've got Skyworks, Broadcom, we've got Motorola. So a lot of experience throughout all of these executives. And that's one key takeaway with INDI is they have a stellar team of execs in an exponentially growing industry known as the semiconductor space. And here are some of the manufacturers that INDI supplies chips to. We've got a lot of foreigns like Volvo, BMW, Audi, and we've got some domestic like Chevy, Ford, GMC. We've also got Tesla here on the list, but it's good to see that they have a well-rounded list of manufacturers that they do supply chips to. And jumping back to the chart, you do see that we've been on a downtrend, and it looks like we have broke this downtrend. I'm happy to buy it at this price. Now you'll notice here that INDI was trading very close to 16, has cooled down quite a lot since then. I think it's worthy of buying in, and we haven't seen this price since it just came out from being a SPAC. All right, they were, I believe it was Thunderbridge. They came out right out the gate, started selling down after the merger. Typical of a SPAC merger, you get that hype, and then once the merger actually happens, you get a bit of a die down. And then as people started realizing what the company was, you'll see also here from a technical standpoint, it started just trading really sideways. The volatility started exiting, meaning that it was either going to be very volatile to the upside or downside. Turned out to be the upside, and it started just running since then. Hit all the way up to 16, and since then we've been downtrending. I think it's at a great time to add to. And one thing to be aware of here is their earnings is coming up 22 of February, and it is expected that they're going to be a negative EPS still, but the revenue is expected to be 18 million, which is an increase of the 12.1 million that they reported last quarter. All right, so it is going to be a good thing to see that revenue continuing to increase, and that is likely going to bring more faith to other investors with INDI, because it is still early. This was a SPAC, and we really don't have too much history to go off of. They did miss their EPS a few earnings ago, but they beat revenue, and since then revenue has been increasing, and they've been getting closer and closer on their EPS. So we'll see how it goes here. Mark this date on your calendar, 22 February. You're going to want to tune into INDI and see where it goes. Now, if you want to be really patient, you might want to wait until after earnings just to be very careful, or just kind of dollar cost through earnings in case earnings goes great and it just runs. Okay, you want to have some skin in the game. Otherwise, if earnings goes bad, you'll still have some cash ready to add to the position. But just be aware that earnings is coming up, so it could get very volatile coming up to the end of February. Now, having said that, I'm comfortable to add at this position. We had this double bottom here. Let's zoom in just a little bit. You'll see that we had a double bottom here, and now we're kind of trending back up. We did break this downtrend, and I'm happy to buy at this price. Now, that being said, we could, of course, test this $7 level one more time, and of course, the volatility of earnings coming, there could be a little bit of fear coming up to it. So it's definitely very possible this can come to a little bit more of a downtrend. We'll see how it goes. Keep an eye on this trend. You'll see if it comes back down, it might continue downwards. So just see if it can stay over this line here, stay above this downtrend that it's been kind of forming. You'll see it has hit it a couple points. It's hit it here, it hit it here, try to hit it here, here again, and then we broke it. So that is a bit of a downtrend. We'll see what it does there. I do think we're very near the bottom on INDI. You of course don't have to time the bottom. You can just take your time, see where it kind of levels out. But I do think it's worthy of an average in at this price. And I have been adding to my INDI. I do love this company. This is one of my highest conviction semiconductor plays by far. And it's very small cap, so if it starts moving, it can move huge. We can definitely see 16 again, and from this price, it is a double up. All right, and next up, I want to go over ChargePoint. Now, this one did hit about a base of 1250. It hit this base twice before just quickly blasting off. You'll see this happen twice. It hit a W, hit this base, and just ran up to about 14 almost. Came back down, did the same thing again. And one thing you can see that might be, you might want to put this on your screen as well. We have somewhat of an uptrend here. We'll see if it breaks it today. If we can have a nice little green day, we will be following this trend. We'll see what happens. It's very close to breaking this trend. So keep an eye on this. If it breaks it, then just disregard this trend. However, if it bounces, we might have confirmation. We might try to run up a little bit more. Now, you'll likely know by the end of the day if this is going to be worthwhile to watch or not. So far, it looks pretty good. We'll see what happens if it starts bouncing up over this trend. I do think it's definitely worthy of a buy, and I have a feeling that that bottom was priced in here at about 12.50. We did hit that twice before, quickly running up. But to be fair, this has happened before when it hit 20. It hit 20 and bounced. It's done this a lot of times until it didn't. So just keep in mind, you know, the trend is your friend until it's not. So it was doing that at 20, and I was saying that I was buying at 20. Hindsight, that might have not been the best decision, of course. But I do still have my shares. I did trim some profits when we ran to about 28. I trimmed it like 25, and I have been adding in since, since about the 15s, just slowly adding. And I think, yeah, right now at its price, I do think it's at a great time to start to add again. Now, ChargePoint is the industry leader. I've been in this one for a while. I've tuned into every earnings call, and right now their market cap's at $4 billion. It looks like it probably hit about 4. It hit right at 4 before bouncing, so that 12.50 is likely right around a $4 billion market cap. It bounced, and I'm pretty comfortable buying at this price. We did hit a low of 11.21, so just be aware of that. But one thing you'll notice is the revenue has been steadily increasing, so that's a very good sign, with the exception of this quarter here. But for the most part, the revenue has been increasing, and they're also expanding into Europe with their acquisitions of Veracity and Has to Be. So that's another good thing. We will hear more about that in their next earnings, about their expansion into Europe. So I'll definitely be tuning into their earnings call. So TipRanks here says that their earnings date's going to be March. And we've also got March 1 here according to MarketBeat. So it looks like March 1 might be their earnings here. So keep an eye on that. We've got a little under a month to prepare, and I will be very excited to listen to their next earnings. Now, as for the last stock on this list of 3 stocks to buy now, I've got another one here for you, Palantir. This is another one I think is very solid at this price, and you'll see that it's been just kind of leveling out here at this $12 level. I'm more than happy to average through. And for Palantir, my goal was just to accumulate shares. I was saying I'm happy to buy under 20. Of course, hindsight, that wasn't the best decision to make. Should have been a little bit more patient with it. Should have seen if we were going to hold that $20 level. But, of course, if you're long-term minded, you were slowly but surely adding. Now, I think if you're just getting in now, I think now is a great time to start getting in. It is starting to level out. You might want to wait until the 17th of February after their earnings to start adding to this if you haven't yet. If you're nervous about what their earnings will be like, I'd be comfortable just adding through. I'm comfortable just adding through. I do love Palantir at this price. And from an accumulation standpoint, I think this is a great time to add. I don't think it's going to downtrend much more. And looking at this, one reason I don't think it's going to downtrend much more is because we have been getting higher lows. You'll see the general trend on these lows here is going higher. So we have higher lows. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if it starts leveling out and moving to the upside. Okay. But yeah, Palantir is another one that I have been adding to at this price. More than comfortable to add. We're neutral on the RSI still. MACD definitely has some room to run. And we'll see how it goes. I do think coming up to earnings, I think it'll probably just trade sideways until we have some kind of news here. A lot of these stocks have been beaten down, and there's a lot of fear on these. And if they get some good earnings, it'll likely bring a little bit of euphoria back, as long as they're good. Okay, right now, everything's just been downtrending. Everyone's fearful. Everyone's, of course, scared of the raising interest rates. To me, I think this is a great chance to buy into these companies before they start running back up and all the euphoria comes back in and all the people that missed out are starting to buy the tops again. I think it's a great time to average through Palantir. But that's basically it for you guys. Just a quick update on 3 of these stocks. I have been adding to all 3 of these. There are definitely a lot of stocks out there such as Matterport, CleanSpark, Volta, Aquestive, Senseonics even. There's definitely a lot out there that you could be averaging into at this time. While everything's in peril, while there's a lot of fear in the market. And you'll notice that the running trend on a lot of these stocks is they have been hitting a point and then just kind of trading sideways. And that typically is the phase where, you get this downtrend, then you get a bit of a sideways action, and then it's either going to break to the upside or break to the downside. So my assumption is that these things are going to trend sideways a little bit longer, and then we're going to break to the upside, especially ones that have earnings catalysts. And as long as those earnings go good, that'll definitely give these room to run. So if Palantir's earnings goes a little bit better than expected, I would likely see this at about $16 to $17. if earnings goes decently. If earnings goes bad, we can likely come towards 10, although I'm kind of doubtful. I mean, earnings I think would have to go pretty bad, and their future outlook would have to be pretty bad for it to go down to 10 or even lower. But if they do just barely beat, or just, if they hit earnings and the outlook is decent, future outlook is decent, then we're going to likely come back up. So that's my thoughts on these 3 stocks, guys. So make sure you like and subscribe. I put out videos every day. And until next time, take it easy.